Alright YouTube, so we are back with an FF7 Remake discussion video. Square Enix messing up this game is something that I actually haven't really given that much thought to, just because of how hyped I am for the game, and I should be keeping my hype in check just in case, but it's kind of hard to do that whenever this is my favorite game of all time, FF7, getting a modern remake. I can't help but be hyped for the game, and everything I've seen so far looks fantastic, so I don't think they're gonna mess the game up. But it's worth discussing whether or not they could, and how they might. Quick shout out, of course, to Mr. Rukin-san, probably butchering that, over on Reddit for giving me the video idea. Now, I did come up with a couple of different things. Now, most of these, pretty much all of them except for one, wouldn't necessarily ruin the game for me, but they're definitely negatives that I'm hoping aren't going to be there when we play the final game. But again, I have a pretty high level of hype for this game, but it's not misplaced hype like I've had with other games in the past, simply because I'm that excited for this game. Like, they'd almost have to go out of their way to develop the game poorly and make it bad intentionally for me to not like it. So what we're going to talk about in this video is strictly the first game only, which is Midgar only, with the potential of maybe something to do, like after story, just a theory of getting outside and maybe getting to go to Kalm and things like that. But 99% of the game will take place inside of Midgar. It's the Midgar story. There's no point in talking about things that are going to happen in the sequels. So first up for me personally is I don't want the game to be linear, and I don't necessarily mean that I want an open world version of Midgar where you can just free roam all the time and go to every sector anytime you want to. I don't necessarily want that. But I'm not a big fan of, like, Final Fantasy XIII, for example, as the person who made this Reddit post talks about, going from corridor to cutscene. We've seen Cloud kind of explore and walk around Midgar a little bit, but we have no idea if that's free roam exploration, or if he's just walking from one story piece to the next. But as this person also pointed out in the Reddit post, I'm not against a story-driven game. I just don't necessarily want to go from story beat to story beat and that's it. I want to have side quests and mini-games and exploration to do. I want to explore Midgar if we can. Hopefully every single sector. I've said that a lot on my channel. Hopefully go to like every single sector, find some secrets and treasures, things like that. Next one is a pretty important one, but the game length, the game time. A lot of people are expecting or are okay with maybe around a 30-hour mark, and that's fine for me. You know, 30 hours minimum for the story would be absolutely perfect. But of course, I want the story to be as long as possible, so it takes a while to beat. Like, if I pop the disc in, and I play Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm just playing the story, I'm not doing side content, just going through the story, and it's like 10 to 20 hours, I'm going to break my PS4 in half. And this kind of goes back to the first entry with the exploration, is having things to do on the side so that the game takes a while to beat. If I want to beat the game entirely 100%, doing everything on the side, it should take, 60 plus hours at least, I would think. Now, I've mentioned in the past that I'm okay with, like, fetch quests and nameless quests where you just go here, kill the monster, come back for your reward. And people have flamed me in the comments for that. What I'm saying is I'm okay with that just to have something else to do besides playing the main story. I'm not necessarily saying I want mundane, boring quests on the side. I'm okay with in-depth quest lines if you want to do that for a side quest as well. But what I'm saying is I just want something to do besides just the story. Like, if I could talk to an NPC and they give me a quest line, go over here to the train graveyard and kill 10 of this enemy and come back for some gil and some items, like, I'm okay with that. That sounds fun to me. I'm fine. Next is repetitive combat, which is something I've seen people talk about already with just a little bit of gameplay that we have. I've seen people in the comments of my videos talking about it. I haven't personally noticed it, but I can understand why that might bother some people. I don't know if it actually bothered me, but if you're doing the same, like, 3 to 5 hit combo all the time, every fight against every enemy, that could be a little bit annoying. So hopefully there's some diversity whenever you're fighting, depending on the enemies that you are fighting. Now, we have seen some environmental fighting where you have enemies that are high up so that you can't normally attack them with a sword, so you have to switch to Barret or use magic. And we've also seen 2 boss fights with the Scorpion Sentinel boss and the Apps boss. They changed his name for the remake, I can't remember what it is right now, but they climb up on the walls. There's different environmental things that happen with Apps. There's water that comes rushing into the battlefield, poisonous puddles all around that can damage you. So I think when it comes to the boss fights in FF7 Remake, that's where we should see a lot of diversity in terms of the combat. We've also seen that Cloud has 2 different fighting styles with the Punisher mode and Operator mode, and then we've also seen 3 different character abilities for Cloud and Barret, and I think we've seen some of Tifa and Aerith's character abilities. As long as there's more abilities to get within game, and we haven't seen the only character abilities we'll ever have throughout the entire game, then we can at least switch up our style so that the combat is not super repetitive. And lastly for me, this is the most important one, this is the one that would actually probably upset me if they did this, is major changes or retcons to the actual FF7 story. Something along the lines of, let's say, Aerith living. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're not going to talk about things that will happen in the sequels, but that's just the most extreme example here. Like, Aerith not dying in the FF7 Remake story would absolutely upset me. But something more grounded to this game and this story would be something like Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge not dying. Like, them dying is part of the motivation for us to take down Shinra. We're already trying to take them down because of the Mako reactors, them killing the planet, and we end up going to the Shinra building because they kidnap Aerith. But Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge dying is also a major motivation for us. Now, this doesn't mean that they have to die in the exact same way as they did in the original game. I wouldn't mind some sort of a surprise. But them dying again is major motivation for us, and we're going to actually feel it this time because we're going to have a lot more time with them as characters. We're going to have a lot more character development. In the original game, you only know them for maybe a couple of hours, and they're really people that know Tifa and Barret more than they know Cloud. We're playing the game through Cloud's perspective. We don't really care when they die that much. But again, these are just some kind of extreme examples of them changing the story. If they do change stuff and I play through it and I enjoy the game, I'm not going to pretend like I hate it just because it's not like the original game. If I like it, I like it. So who knows exactly what they could change through the story that I might end up enjoying more than I thought I would. But once we actually have the game in our hands and I can play it and talk about it, there might be a lot of stuff that I don't like that they changed, or there might be a lot of stuff that they changed that I do like. We'll talk about it whenever we can actually review the game, when it's actually played through it and get my thoughts on it. I've always been transparent as hell. Just because this is a remake of my favorite game doesn't mean it gets a free pass. I've always been very critical with my reviews. If I don't like something or if I do like something, I'll let you know. Anyways, my dudes, that's pretty much the video. It's everything that I could come up with how they could potentially mess up or ruin FF7 Remake. It mainly comes down to boring exploration, short game length, and them changing way too much with the story, like retconning a lot of things. The repetitive combat is just a small one that I threw in there just to kind of make the video a little bit longer. And to be honest, going back to the retcon thing really quickly, we've already seen the Watchman of Fate, Sephiroth a lot in Midgar, whether he's actually there or an illusion, we don't know. We've also seen a new Shinra, soldier member. And all those changes so far look actually interesting and intriguing, so I don't even know what I'm going to like or dislike until we actually get to play the game. So anyways, of course, I pass off to you guys. How do you think Square Enix can mess up Final Fantasy VII Remake? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid. And my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys. Give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while, quit acting